Good morning, dear professor and student of the Moody College of Communication of the University of Texas at Austin. My name is Rixio Portillo. I am professor in the Department of Film and Communication of the University of Monterrey. For the Global Fusion 2023, I present a research on humanitarian conditions in Venezuela according to Osservatore Romano in 2018. Some assistant will help us with the presentation of the study.
Thank you, Professor. The Venezuelan conflict situation in 2018 increased exponentially with direct effects on the countries of the continent. The greatest reference was at the humanitarian level, which led to the most important migratory flow in Latin America in recent years. Conflicts in countries with humanitarian implications can have different levels due to the number of people affected and the conditions in which the crisis develops. They are referred to as humanitarian crises or complex emergencies. Although the United Nations has not officially declared a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, various press sources point out how its spokespersons refer to the situation with this term. That same year, the country became part of the humanitarian assistance and aid plan of different international programs.
Osservatore Romano, as a newspaper of the Holy See, has characteristics in the way it publishes and selects its contents. Its editor, Andrea Monda, confirmed the editorial priority of the Venezuelan crisis, together with other problems of greater international rigor such as Syria and Yemen. Likewise, its diplomatic scope, since its editions are distributed to the embassies accredited to the Vatican. The term humanitarian crisis directly associates the conflict with a military crisis in a war scenario. The first legal reference is the Geneva Convention. Perez and Arizaga define complex emergencies as the type of humanitarian crisis that has proliferated since the end of the Cold War and is caused by a combination of several factors: the collapse of the formal economy and state structures, civil conflicts, famines, health crises, and population exodus.
The analytical research captured 141 editions of Osservatore Romano in which the topic Venezuela was present, taking as a sample 47 in which there are precise references to the humanitarian situation. For data collection, an instrument was designed in which categories of humanitarian conditions were established, as described in the Human Rights Watch report: political conditions, food, health, and aspects of human mobility, to establish trends and describe how the crisis was represented.
The most observable feature of humanitarian conditions revolves around the issue of human mobility, which was 76.6%. What words do you associate with migration, Professor?
The words associated with migration are Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil, refugee, migrant, Venezuela fleeing, escape, displaced, and exodus.
The third dimension deals with food conditions with 21.3%. What are the words used, Professor?
The words used are looting, disorder, modern slavery of children, tragedy, help, shelter, people, and Venezuela children.
Related to health, there are two reference in news coverage, 2.1%. The headlines are 11 children dead in Venezuela due to lack of medicines, June 10, and devastating health crisis in Venezuela, November 17.
A final point to consider in the journalistic coverage is how they identify the type of conflict. As it was pointed out, the Venezuelan events do not respond to all the characteristics of the humanitarian crisis, since they are not located in a military conflict, with a group of civilians in the middle of the line of fire. However, international organizations have referred to the situation as a humanitarian crisis. For this reason, the Vatican newspaper assumed as its editorial line the reference to the term that emerges from the journalistic narrative of the UN spokespersons.
The survey identified that the expression humanitarian emergency appears in several texts, but not about Venezuela. In the April 19 edition about Colombia, a neighboring country. The October 5 edition, in a note on India, was published on the same page with another news item on Venezuela, with the title, "The Tragedy of Venezuelan Children. In 2017, 3 minors die every day due to violence or lack of medicines." The vulnerable population most often described and represented were migrants, more specifically children, as the main victims of the conflict. How did Osservatore Romano help the situation in Venezuela, Professor?
The editorial decision helped to prioritize the situational humanitarian crisis in the scenario of public discussion, assuming the press narrative of international organizations that had to deal with the situation. Thank you very much.